Would you like?
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for being with me. It's going to take me a little while to settle down because I just had the extremely unpleasant experience of actually watching Donald Trump in action for an hour and a half. Wow. And that was certainly something. An hour and a half speech of lies, distortions, and total absolute nonsense. That is quite an experience. So if you watch Trump's speech, you're already a little bit discombobulated. So I'm not going to keep you for a very long period of time, but I want to take you into another universe, a parallel universe from where Trump was this evening. It's really quite incredible. So what I want to talk about is not so much what he said, but what he didn't say. Take a look at America today, the America that Trump did not talk about. And if you ask for a start, the scientific community globally, what the major crisis facing our planet is, they will tell you without a second's hesitancy that that crisis is climate change. And they will tell you that climate change is real, it is caused by man-made activities, and it is already causing devastating problems. And if we don't get our act together in the very short near future, there will be irreparable damage done to this planet. Maybe I missed it. I did not hear Donald Trump mention one word about the planetary crisis of climate change. And in fact, what he boasted about is that we are producing more carbon, which is only going to speed up the climate change crisis. Okay, that's issue number one that comes to my mind. Trump talked about the booming economy. And in truth, unemployment is low, stock market is high. But what didn't he talk about? He didn't talk about the fact that half of the people in this country today are working paycheck to paycheck. They don't get paid next week. They lose their job next week. Their kid gets sick. Their car breaks down. There's a divorce in the family. They are in really bad shape because they don't have any cash in order to pay for the bills that are coming. Trump didn't talk about the half of America that has zero wealth at all. Trump didn't talk about the incredible level of income and wealth inequality in America. Trump did talk about his tax plan, but you know what he forgot to tell you? He forgot to tell you that 83% of all of those tax benefits went to the top 1% over a 10-year period. He forgot to tell you that under his tax plan, companies like Amazon, owned by the wealthiest guy in America, made almost $11 billion in profit last year, didn't pay a nickel in federal income tax. That's Trump's tax plan. Forgot to talk about that. Trump mentioned health care in a totally dishonest way, but he did forget somehow to mention to you that he came within one vote, the late John McCain's vote, to throw 32 million Americans off of the health care they currently have. Can you imagine that? 32 million people losing the health care that they currently have. We came within one vote of allowing him to do that. Fortunately, we defeated him. He talked about pre-existing conditions. We will always defend pre-existing conditions. Total lie. Under Trump's plan, insurance companies will be able to deny insurance coverage to people who have cancer, heart disease, diabetes, or other serious illnesses. Trump forgot to talk about the educational crisis facing our country and the fact that hundreds of thousands of bright young people are unable to afford to go to college. Forgot to mention that, but what Trump has done is try to cut Pell Grants, making it even harder for those young people to go to college. Trump did not mention one word about one of the great economic crises that we face today, and that is the fact that some 45 million Americans are struggling in some cases with outrageous levels of student debt. Didn't say a word about that. Now, my own view is that we have to very, very substantially reduce that student debt, which is really a real oppressive force for so many people in this country who are paying $1,000 a month or whatever. Not a word from Trump. Trump talked about the fact that he is lowering prescription drug costs. Happens to be a lie. Prescription drug costs in America continue to go up, and we are paying twice as much as are the people of any other major country on earth. Trump forgot to talk about our crumbling infrastructure because despite all of his rhetoric over the years, he has no plan to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. Trump forgot to talk about the fact that we have not raised the minimum wage in this country over the last 10 years. And the result of that is that there are millions of people who are working literally for starvation wages. Trump forgot to talk about the gun crisis that we have in this country and the mass killings that we see, and the 40,000 people a year who die as a result of guns, and the fact that Trump and the Republican leadership are vigorously opposing any common sense gun safety legislation, including expanding background checks. And when Trump talked about immigration, he talked about it in his usual racist way. And his racist way is an effort to try to divide us up. So listening to Trump made me feel very much that he is a man living in a parallel universe, a man way out of touch with the needs of ordinary people, and a man who must be defeated. And I can understand that he attacks me or other Democratic candidates because poll after poll is showing the country that Trump is falling further behind in terms of his ability to get reelected. So without going on much longer, let me just simply say this. We have a president who, as I've said many times, and I say this without any joy in my heart, we have a president who is a racist, who is a sexist, who is a homophobe, who is a xenophobe, and he is a religious bigot. And his strategy to win re-election is to divide the American people up based on the color of our skin, based on where we were born, based on our religion, based on our sexual orientation. And our job is not to allow him to do that. Our job is to bring the American people together around an agenda that works for all of us, and not just the wealthy campaign contributors and the people on top. There is something profoundly wrong in America today when over the last 30 years, the top 1% has seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth, while the bottom 50% has actually seen a $900 billion decrease in their wealth, and that gap between the rich and the poor growing wider. And when you talk about disparities, the disparity is even worse within the African American community, where white folks have 10 times more wealth than black people. We are the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And if we do not allow Trump to divide us up, if we believe that economic rights are human rights, if we believe that everybody in this country is entitled to a job and a job that pays them a living wage, if we believe that education is a human right and all of our people are entitled to all of the education they need to fulfill the goals that they are striving for, if we believe that a clean environment is a human right, if we believe that retirement security, that when you get old, You don't have to cut your pills in half because you cannot afford the outrageous cost of medicine. But you are entitled, after a life of work or life of raising kids, to be retired in security and dignity. If we believe in real criminal justice reform, so we end the insanity of having more people in jail than any other country, if we believe in comprehensive immigration reform, if we believe that we need to rebuild our infrastructure and create millions of units of affordable housing so that people, 500,000 people, do not have to sleep out on the streets, as is the case tonight, or millions of people spend half of their incomes for housing. So we got a lot to do, but our job, most importantly, is to defeat the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country. Our job is to keep our eyes on the prize, which is creating a decent life for all people. Our job is to resist Trump's effort to divide us up. And when we do that, when we come together around an agenda that works for all, and not just the people on top, the future of this country will be extraordinary. So let's stand together, let's keep our eyes on the prize, and let's create the America that we know we can create. Thank you all very much.